Understanding Polygamy in Islam, a comprehensive guide. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to this comprehensive guide on understanding polygamy in Islam. Polygamy remains one of the most misunderstood and sometimes controversial aspects of Islamic family law. In this video, we'll examine what Islamic teachings actually say about polygamy, the conditions attached to it, and how it fits into the broader framework of Islamic ethics and social welfare. Whether you're a Muslim seeking to understand your religion better or someone curious about Islamic practices, this video aims to provide you with accurate information based on authentic sources. We'll explore not just the rulings, but also the wisdom behind them and how they apply in today's world. Before we begin, I want to emphasize that Islam views marriage primarily as a sacred covenant built on compassion, love, and mercy. Any discussion about marriage structures must begin with this understanding. Definition and scope of polygamy in Islam. When we discuss polygamy in Islam, we're specifically talking about polygyny, the practice where a man may have multiple wives. It's important to clarify that Islam permits a man to marry up to 4 wives simultaneously, not more. This limitation is explicit and firm. Prior to Islam, in many societies including pre-Islamic Arabia, men could marry an unlimited number of women. Islam came and regulated this practice by setting a clear upper limit of 4 wives and attaching strict conditions to it. The practice is not mandatory or even recommended as a general principle in Islam. Rather, it's a permission granted for specific circumstances where it might serve individual or community welfare. Islam recognizes that there may be situations, personal, social, or demographic, where polygyny could be beneficial or necessary. It's essential to understand that monogamy, having one spouse, remains the norm in Islamic societies historically and today. The majority of Muslim men throughout Islamic history, including those who could afford to support multiple families, have chosen monogamy. Polygyny in Islam is thus a regulated exception, not the rule. It exists as a practical solution to certain social problems and personal circumstances, which we'll explore later in this video. The permission for polygyny comes with strict conditions and responsibilities that make it a serious commitment rather than a casual choice. These conditions are designed to protect the rights and dignity of all parties involved, especially women. Scriptural basis for polygamy. The primary scriptural basis for polygyny in Islam comes from the Quran, specifically Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4, verse 3, which states, "And if you fear that you will not deal justly with the orphan girls, then marry those that please you of women, 2 or 3 or 4. But if you fear that you will not be just, then marry only 1 or those your right hands possess. That is more suitable that you may not incline to injustice." This verse was revealed after the Battle of Uhud, where many Muslim men were martyred, leaving behind widows and orphans. The historical context is crucial. This permission came as a solution to a social crisis where many women and children needed protection and support. The verse itself contains both the permission and the restriction. While allowing marriage to up to 4 wives, it immediately follows with a stern warning: if a man fears he cannot maintain justice between his wives, then he must restrict himself to just 1 wife. This condition of justice is further emphasized in Surah An-Nisa, verse 129, "And you will never be able to be equal between wives, even if you should strive to do so. So do not incline completely toward one and leave another hanging. And if you amend your affairs and fear Allah, then indeed Allah is ever forgiving and merciful." These verses together establish that while polygyny is permitted, it comes with the fundamental requirement of justice and fair treatment. The Quran acknowledges the natural human limitation in achieving perfect emotional equality while still requiring material and outward justice. The emphasis on justice and fairness in these verses shows that the permission isn't meant to cater to men's desires but to ensure social welfare and justice for women and children in particular circumstances. Conditions for permissibility, justice and fairness. Justice and fairness form the cornerstone of permissible polygyny in Islam. Let's examine what this entails. First, a husband must provide equal material support to all wives. This includes equivalent housing, food, clothing, and general standard of living. If he provides a certain standard of living to 1 wife, he must provide comparable conditions to his other wives. Second, time must be divided equally among all wives. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, would allocate his nights among his wives in equal rotation. This principle of equal time extends to companionship and presence. Third, there must be equal treatment in terms of kindness, respect, and general conduct. A husband cannot show favoritism in how he treats his wives publicly or in family matters. The Quran acknowledges that perfect equality in emotions and love is beyond human control. A man may naturally have stronger feelings for one wife over another. However, these internal feelings should not translate into unequal external treatment. The Quran warns against inclining completely toward one, meaning a man should not allow his preferences to result in neglect or mistreatment of his other wives. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is reported to have said, "Whoever has two wives and inclines to one of them unfairly, will come on the day of resurrection with half of his body leaning." This hadith emphasizes the seriousness of maintaining justice between wives. If a man cannot fulfill these conditions of justice and fairness, then Islamic law is clear: he must restrict himself to a single wife. Conditions for permissibility: financial capability. Another essential condition for polygyny in Islam is financial capability. A man must have sufficient resources to support multiple families without diminishing the quality of life of his existing wife or wives. This includes the ability to provide separate adequate housing for each wife unless they consent to live together, which is rare and generally not recommended. Financial capacity to pay the mahr, dowry, to each new wife, which is her right and personal property. Sufficient income to cover the living expenses of all wives and children, including food, clothing, education, healthcare, and other necessities. Resources to ensure all children receive equal opportunities and support. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, emphasized financial responsibility as a prerequisite for marriage in general, saying, "O young men, whoever among you can afford to get married, let him do so, as it helps him lower his gaze and guard his modesty." This responsibility is multiplied in polygyny. Islamic scholars agree that if taking another wife would cause financial strain on existing families, then it becomes impermissible for a man to pursue polygyny. In fact, if a man knows he cannot financially maintain multiple households adequately, yet proceeds with polygyny anyway, he would be committing a sin by failing to fulfill his Islamic obligations toward his families. This condition ensures that polygyny isn't pursued at the expense of existing families' welfare and that the practice serves its intended social benefits rather than creating new hardships. Responsibility and accountability. Polygyny in Islam comes with tremendous responsibility and accountability, both in this world and the hereafter. A man who chooses to have multiple wives takes on spiritual accountability. He will answer to Allah regarding how justly he treated each wife and family. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, emphasized that treating wives unjustly is a serious sin with consequences in the afterlife. Emotional responsibility. He must attend to the emotional needs of multiple wives and navigate complex family dynamics with wisdom and fairness. Leadership obligations. He must guide, protect, and maintain harmony among multiple households, resolving conflicts and ensuring all members feel valued and respected. Time management. He must efficiently divide his time to fulfill his duties toward each family without neglect. The Muslim man who contemplates polygyny must ask himself honestly, can I fulfill these responsibilities with excellence? If the answer is uncertain, then Islamic guidance suggests remaining monogamous. In Islam, leadership positions, including heading a family, are viewed primarily as responsibilities rather than privileges. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Each of you is a shepherd, and each of you is responsible for his flock." This responsibility is magnified in polygynous arrangements. Islamic scholars emphasize that a man must consider polygyny with extreme seriousness and self-reflection, recognizing that he will be held accountable for his decisions and conduct. This accountability extends beyond legal obligations to moral and spiritual domains. Wisdom and objectives, historical context. To truly understand polygyny in Islam, we must appreciate its historical and social context. In 7th century Arabia and throughout most of human history, wars and dangerous occupations led to higher male mortality rates, creating gender imbalances in many societies. After battles like Uhud, many Muslim men were martyred, leaving behind widows and orphans. In a society where women generally depended on male relatives for financial support and protection, these widows faced serious challenges. 1. Economic hardship and poverty. 2. Social vulnerability and potential exploitation. 3. Psychological distress from loss of support systems. 4. Limited options for remarriage due to the reduced male population. Polygyny provided a practical solution by 1. Integrating widows into existing family structures where they could find economic security. 2. Providing father figures and support for orphans. 3. Maintaining social stability during demographic crises. 4. Preserving the dignity of women who would otherwise be left without support. Additionally, in societies without social welfare systems, polygyny served as a private social security mechanism. When a man married a widow with children, he took responsibility for their welfare, effectively creating a family-based support system. The early Muslim community, particularly after battles, utilized this institution to ensure that vulnerable women and children were not left destitute. Many companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, married widows specifically to provide for them and their children. It's worth noting that throughout history, polygyny has appeared in various societies facing similar demographic challenges. Wisdom and objectives: social welfare. Beyond its historical application, polygyny in Islam serves several important social welfare objectives that remain relevant in certain contexts today. First, it addresses demographic imbalances. In societies with more marriageable women than men, whether due to war, dangerous male occupations, or other factors, polygyny provides a practical framework for ensuring more women have the opportunity to marry if they wish. Second, it offers support for vulnerable women. In communities without robust social welfare systems, remarriage, including as a second wife, can provide security for widows, divorcees, or women without family support. Third, it creates family units for children who might otherwise grow up without paternal care. When a man marries a widow or divorcee with children, he typically assumes responsibility for those children's upbringing and financial support. Fourth, it strengthens community ties by expanding family networks and creating larger support systems. Extended polygynous families can pool resources and provide greater security for all members. Fifth, it addresses certain medical and reproductive situations. For instance, when a wife is chronically ill or unable to have children but still wishes to maintain her marriage, polygyny allows the husband to have children while honoring his commitment to his first wife. In each of these situations, Islamic polygyny serves as a regulated system that addresses specific social needs while protecting women's rights through its conditions of justice, fairness, and financial capability. The overarching principle is that polygyny should serve genuine welfare purposes rather than personal desires alone, a point emphasized by classical and contemporary Islamic scholars alike. Wisdom and objectives: preventing harmful alternatives. Another important wisdom behind the regulated permission of polygyny relates to preventing more harmful alternatives that societies might otherwise adopt. In many cultures throughout history, men seeking additional relationships beyond their first marriage have often turned to illicit relationships, concubinage, or various forms of exploitation. These arrangements typically provided women with few or no legal rights, social recognition, or financial security. By contrast, Islamic polygyny, 1. requires public acknowledgement of the relationship through proper marriage. 2. grants each wife full legal status with enforceable rights. 3. ensures children born to any wife have equal legitimacy and inheritance rights. 4. provides women with financial security through mahr, dowry, and maintenance. 5. creates clear obligations and responsibilities that the husband must fulfill. This system acknowledges certain realities about human nature and society while channeling them into regulated, rights-based relationships rather than exploitative ones. In some contemporary contexts, this remains relevant. In societies where extramarital relationships are common, Islamic polygyny offers an alternative that provides women with legal recognition, financial rights, and social status rather than secrecy and vulnerability. The Islamic framework recognizes that prohibiting something without addressing underlying social needs or human tendencies often leads to harmful underground practices. By permitting polygyny under strict conditions, Islam provides a regulated path that protects women's dignity and rights while maintaining social order. This pragmatic approach prioritizes actual welfare outcomes over theoretical ideals, a principle found throughout Islamic law. Misconceptions and clarifications. Now let's address some common misconceptions about polygyny in Islam. Misconception number 1. Polygyny is encouraged or preferred in Islam. Clarification: polygyny is permitted under specific conditions, not encouraged as a general practice. The default assumption in Islamic marriage is monogamy, and polygyny is an exception for specific circumstances. Most Muslim scholars throughout history have maintained that monogamy is preferable for most people. Misconception number 2. Polygyny exists primarily to satisfy men's desires. Clarification: the primary purposes of Islamic polygyny are social welfare, care for vulnerable women and children, and addressing specific family situations. While Islam acknowledges human nature, the permission comes with strict conditions that prioritize justice and responsibility over personal gratification. Misconception number 3. Islam allows unlimited wives. Clarification: Islam explicitly limits the number of wives to a maximum of 4 at any one time, unlike the unrestricted polygyny practiced in pre-Islamic Arabia and many other ancient societies. Misconception number 4. If Islam allows men multiple wives, women should be allowed multiple husbands. Clarification: Islam prohibits polyandry, one woman having multiple husbands, primarily because it creates paternity uncertainty, which undermines lineage determination, a crucial aspect of Islamic family law regarding inheritance, mahram relationships, and child custody. Additionally, the different biological, psychological, and social realities of men and women contribute to this distinction. Misconception number 5. Polygyny is oppressive to women. Clarification: Islamic polygyny gives women full legal rights, financial security, and the option to include a monogamy clause in their marriage contract. Many women throughout Islamic history have preferred being a second wife with full rights rather than remaining unmarried or in relationships without legal protection. The oppression comes not from permissible polygyny but from its misapplication without fulfilling the required conditions. Understanding these clarifications helps us see that Islamic polygyny is a regulated practice designed to serve specific social needs rather than male privilege. And there you have it. We hope you found this information helpful and thought-provoking. Our goal is always to provide you with content that both informs and engages. If you enjoyed this video and found value in it, we'd be incredibly grateful if you could take a moment to hit that like button. Your positive feedback helps our content reach more viewers who might benefit from it. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to stay updated on our latest uploads. We release new videos regularly and would love to have you join us on this journey of discovery and learning. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care and stay curious.